Hey there, nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back in an episode of Tales from the Tacklezone. This is our series that's dedicated to second season Blood Bowl, and as you can see here, we have two teams playing in the Old World Conference. We have the Champions of Death, which is played by my little sister Shade for the Shambling Undead, versus Nurgle's Rodder of the Nurgle team, played by my friend Dark Lord Mac. So as you can see, we are now playing in front of O'Reilly Hall. The stadiums are packed with both sets of fans. We have the Undead cheering on the Champions of Undeath. As you can see, occupying the nosebleed seats within the aqueduct system as well. Even Heinrich Himmler, the Leech Lord, and his best friend Krell even managed to make an attendance for this game. At the same time, we also have Nurgle demons and bloat kings and all kinds of stuff appearing for this game as well. Also occupying the nosebleed seats in the aqueduct system. Also, Nurgle works in black magic, was able to summon up some members from the Killerpox Infected from the 40,000 universe. See the little Nurglings all cheering on their favorite team as these two teams rocket forward into glory for the Old World Conference. So with that being said, real quick, we'll play some background music real fast. As the music is playing, we'll show you videos of both teams as well as their rosters and get this game on a roll. So let's get started. And we are back. As you can see, this is the second game of the Old World Conference with the Shambling Undead, played by my sister Shade with the Champions of Death, versus my other friend Dark Lord Mac with his Nurgle's Rodders of the Nurgle Chaos teams. So, just to give you guys some information about what's happening so far, the pregame. So far, the fan factors, Nurgle's Rodders have a fan factor of 3, while the Champions of Death have a fan factor of 2, so pretty evenly matched there as well. On the coin toss, because the Nurgle's Rodders are the visiting team, they get to choose, so they called heads on this one, and they managed to secure heads on the coin flip. So because of that, Dark Lord Mac has elected to kick off in the first half, so that way they can receive in the second half of the game as well. Now, as for the conditions for this, we actually rolled up perfect conditions for Blood Bowl, and when it came to the kickoff table, we also once again rolled changing weather, but when they rolled again for the weather, they rolled some more perfect conditions, so because of that, the ball simply scatters all it did. And during the kickoff, of course, the ball was originally punted directly between these two ghouls on the receiving team. It bounced over, I believe, 3 spaces to the 4 o'clock position. So there is the ball, and where it lands perfectly right there. That being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 1 for the Shambling Undead, Champions of Death. Alright, so that takes directly to the top of turn number 1 for the Shambling Undead for the Champions of Death, and Shade has actually made quite a very powerful drive for the most part. As you can see, pretty much along the line of scrimmage as well as a wide zone, she did manage to knock down a couple of bloaters and actually push back the line of scrimmage back for a line of space, especially clearing out the area that you see up here in the wide zone, pushing down the bloaters down directly into the main line of scrimmage, while leaving only one Rodder over there in the flank for the most part. Everything else pretty much moved up for the most part. But the most dramatic play probably took place at play number 4, which is Hatchai, which is one of the Ghoul Runners. The Ghoul Runner actually moved up, grabbed the ball, ran directly to the end zone. It looks like that Shade's going to try to exploit this top pocket up here, try to push through and make her way directly to the end zone, and try to secure a touchdown there. And since all of our team members have been activated, we go directly to the top of turn number 1 for Nurgle's Rodders with Dark Lord Mac. So from there, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, but unfortunately, as you can see, Dark Lord Mac forgot to move his turn marker on his board, so just like that, it consists of a legal procedure, which causes immediate turnover to the game. So because of that, Dark Lord Mac loses his very first turn of activation, which, is kind of funny, but, that's the point of Blood Bowl. You gotta be careful on some of the stuff there. So because of that, Dark Lord Mac does lose his first action, so we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Shambling Undead. So coming back from the end of turn number 2 for the Shambling Undead, as you can see, quite a bit of action has taken place already on the pitch for the most part. As you can see, the Champions of Death had pretty much blown out the top of the wide zone, scattering this Rodder directly towards the crowd, at the same time making a large pocket for Ghoul player number 4, Hoochchai, in order to make his way directly towards the end zone as well. The only thing he has to worry about, of course, is this Pessigor player number 2, Ma-Gara. He does have to worry about him because he could put a blitz action on him, but to do so, though, he will have to pass through the tackle zone of Mummy, which is player number 2, Sinru Nebatin. So because he does have some worries about that way. Meanwhile, Shade has been pretty much clearing out house along the front of the line of skirmish, pushing back most of the bloaters as well. At the same time, perhaps the most dramatic moment took place right over here in the center of the tabletop. As you can see, player number 12, which is Lionel, which is actually one of the Rotters, got taken out with an assist by player number 8, as well as player number 9. Player number 8 is Seb, and player number 9 is Nereth, which is the skeleton. They actually managed to put a casualty on this guy and put a serious injury on him as well. So because he does suffer a niggling injury as well as miss his next game as well. So as you can see right now, the Champions of Death are actually just bringing the pain right now directly towards Nurgle's Rotters. So that being said, we're going directly to the top of turn number 2 for my buddy Dark Lord Mac. Alright, so that takes us directly to turn number 2 for the Nurgle's Rotters. As you can see, for the most part, for Dark Lord Mac, most of his actions were pretty simple. He was basically just getting most of his guys on their feet again, just because he wanted to get those guys off of prone, because he forgot to do that during his first turn. Perhaps the most dramatic move that took place, however, was up here in the top of the table. Pessigor player number 2, Ma-Gara, actually tried to do a blitz action directly against player number player number 4, Hoochchai was his name, which is the ghoul that has possession of the ball. He did have to try to take an agility test to pass the tackle zone off of the player number 2, Sinru Nebatin, which is actually one of the mummies that was located in that area. He did fail his initiative check, agility check originally, so because he did burn up one of his rerolls in order to do that, and then managed to pass a second time, blitzed directly into Hoochchai, but unfortunately for him, though, only got a push result, so he only pushed him back 1 inch, 1 square back is all he's able to do. For the most part in the line of scrimmage, most of his guys kind of stood up. There was some pushing taking place over here in the center of the table, pushing back the mummy Apheb of the Sands, and also down here in the end zone as well, trying to push back that white as well. But perhaps the most dramatic movement took place over here when player number 1, Mugar, the Pessigor, tried to throw a block directly to the zombie. Unfortunately for him, though, they got the both knocked down result, which caused an immediate turnover, and that pretty much ends turn number 2 for Dark Lord Mac. So that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 3 for Shade and the Champions of Death. So that brings directly to the top of turn number 3 for the Champions of Death, and once again, quite a bit of action took place over here on the top of the table. First of all, the defensive players up here on the top were able to push back this Pessigor, Ma-Gara is his name, managed to put him down over directly in the wide zone as well, creating an open pocket for Hoochchai, the player number 4, the ghoul, to make his way directly towards the end zone. He's a couple of squares away from making it, so much not really happened up there. Meanwhile, up here in the top, player number 11, which his name is let's see here, Davion Atritus is his name. He was actually pushed into the crowd by this white player, so because of that, he suffered a stun result. So because he is currently down. For the most part, some more pushing is taking place along the main line of scrimmage. And perhaps the biggest thing that took place, however, was this zombie. This zombie did try to stand up and try to rush it in order to help support out his ghoul friend, but unfortunately he stumbled, which caused immediate turnover. So because of that, that ends the turn for the Champions of Death, and we go directly back to Nurgle's Rotters. Alright, so that takes us right to the top of turn number 3 for Nurgle's Rotters. So first of all, the first player, Davian, which is one of the Nurgle's Rotters, he actually performed a blitz action, managed to escape out of the tackle zone of player number 2, which is Sinru Nebatin, the mummy, and actually ran all the way directly towards Hoochchai, which is the player number 4 for the ghouls. Threw a blitz action directly into him, but unfortunately for him, though, he failed, actually got both knocked down, original result. So because of that, Dark Lord Mac then burned up one of his rerolls to reroll it, and ended up getting a push instead. So Hoochchai, I think, got pushed closer directly towards the top, towards the Nurgle fans. Meanwhile, over here on the left-hand side, Ma-Gara, which is the plague, the Pessigor that was down originally by Sinru Nebatin, the mummy, he actually got back on his feet again, passes his agility test, moved out 3 squares to go directly into the tackle zone, so that way he can mark Hoochchai, so that way Hoochchai can't really go anywhere without being marked for the most part. So that's what happened there. Now, meanwhile, the very last of the dramatic movements took place over here with this Pessigor. His name was Mugar. He's one of the Pessigors. He actually got up and moved up 3 spaces, tried to rush in order to make it directly towards the end, but unfortunately rolled a 1. So just like that, he failed, calling an immediate turnover for the team. So with that being said, that takes directly to the top of turn number 4 for the Shambling Undead. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 4 for the Champions of Death, and our most dramatic action took place over here in the upper right corner. First of all, one of the gold player number 3, Petsu the Shadow, he actually moved up directly in order to mark up this player over here, which is Davion, so that way he would not have a bonus in order to escape his tackle zone later on. At the same time, this mummy player number 2, his name is Senru Nabotan, he actually does a dramatic blitz action, moving directly from the line of scrimmage directly into Mog Barar, which is player number 2, the Pessigor. Managed to put him down with a power result. Was able to puncture his armor though, but pushed him directly next to the stands, next to the crowd. And what this did is open up a window of opportunity for Huchai to actually make a run for it. He passes initiative test, getting out of the tackle zone of Davion directly to the end zone, and just like that, touchdown for the Champions of Death. And just like that, they managed to score the first touchdown for the game. So that being said, my friends are going to re-rack real quick, put their people up on the table, and then of course, Nurgle's Waters will receive the kickoff for the first half. Alright, so that takes directly to the kickoff. As you can see, both teams have lined up. When it came to the kickoff table, an 11 was rolled. Unfortunately for my sister Shade, she lost that roll-off. So because that Huachai, which is the ghoul just scored the touchdown, actually suffered a stun result. So he's laying on the ground face down because he got punched up by the ref for just arguing with him at the same time. Meanwhile, the ball managed to jump right between the Pesicor and bounce 4 spaces up to the white zone. And just like that, we begin turn number 4 for Nurgle's Rotters. So with that, we go directly to the top of turn number 4, and as you can see, unfortunately, Dark Lord Mac forgot to remove his turn marker, so because that caused a legal procedure, which means immediately ends his turn drive and goes directly back to the Champions of Death. So with that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 5 for the Champions of Death. So that takes directly to the top of end of turn number 5 for the Champions of Death, and as you can see here, for the most part, she pretty much just pushes forward with her assault on the lane line of scrimmage. Managed to put 2 of the bloaters out using her mummies with zombies as supports. Probably the most impressive movement that took place though was up here on the top of the table. As you can see, this white over here did a blitzing action directly on this Rotter, knock him back and knock him down, leaving the wide zone wide open. So because of that, one of the ghouls, he actually decided to move up forward. He had to get up and lose 3 squares of his movement because he had to stand back again, but he moved up his 4 squares and also went 2 more by rushing, made it directly towards that ball right there. So if my buddy Dark Lord Mac's not careful, they could actually regain possession of the ball. At the same time, Shay does exactly the same thing down here in this bottom end of the table as well, moving up her ghoul, running along the edge, using up all 7 of his spaces, going directly towards the Pestigors as well. Kind of look like they're kind of going for a blitz to kind of take the ball back at all costs. So that being said, that pretty much makes up Shade's turn for turn number 5. For that, we go directly to Dark Lord Mac. So with that, we go directly to the end of turn number 5 for Nurgle's Rotters, and as you can see, quite a bit of action actually moved out here, directly in the middle here of the line of scrimmage. As you can see, using his bloaters, Dark Lord Mac actually kind of opened up an opening right here in the middle line by pushing the mummies out of the way, as well as some of the zombies and skeletons, so that way he has a clear avenue of approach. At the same time, he also suppresses up here the 2 players up at the top of the white zone, so that way he can kind of weave through this area with his Pesticores, but he's got to go through some tackle zones in order to do so. At the same time, also create another avenue approach down over here. So he's got 3 different areas he can go. He can go this route here along the edge, 1, right to the center this line of skirmish there, 2, right in the center, which is 3, and then of course you have no option number 4 up here. So he's giving himself a lot of options to use. So with that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 6 for the Champions of Death. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 6. Unfortunately for Shade, she did not have a very successful drive. The first thing she did, she activated one of her whites. He actually moved directly around the battlefield, directly to the back in order to hit this Pestigor who had the possession of the ball. But unfortunately for her, though, when she actually rolled player knocked down. So because of that, she got knocked down, which caused an immediate changeover. And because of that, we go directly to the top of turn number 6 for the Nurgle's Rotters. So we go directly to the top of turn number 6 for Nurgle's Rotters, and this is exactly what ended up happening on the table. So as you can see, for the most part, Dark Lord Mac's 2 Pestigors, Remulgor, as well as Magarar, they basically both go forward, moving at their maximum middle lands, going through this center gap here that they cross in the lines. At the same time, he also rushed twice with both these guys, past their rolls in order to make sure they can get there. At the same time, he also has a defensive screen of bloaters kind of surrounding them as well to protect them from being attacked. However, the biggest difference, though, took place over here in bloater number 6, Glutos the Disposer, trying to tackle Ahab of the Sands, which is the mummy. Unfortunately, got a player down result instead, causing immediate turnover. So because that pretty much makes up turn number 6 for Nurgle's Rotters. Unfortunately for Shade, when she decided to move for turn number 7, she forgot to move her turn marker. So just like that, we have immediate changeover and turnover directly back to Nurgle's Rotters. So unfortunately, my little sister Shade loses her turn. Alright, so we turn back to turn number 7 for Nurgle's Rotters for Dark Lord Mac. As you can see, quite a bit of action has taken place on the tabletop. For the most part, he leads the charge forward with his 2 Pestigors, Rimagor as well as Magarar, trying to make their way directly towards the end zone. So you can see they're only a couple of squares away. At the same time, these bloaters, as weird as it may sound, actually pass their agility test in order to escape the tackle zone to the players up here, and have actually moved their maximum allowance as well, kind of create a protective screen for these guys in order to make it to their turn. The most dramatic action took place up here in the top, though, where Davion, the Rotter, actually threw an attack block directly into player number 4, Hoochchai, and actually got some support from his fellow players, and managed to put a stun result on him as well, so that part was pretty devastating. However, there was a turnover, though, down over here on the bottom of the table. This bloater Rotter did try to try to block this this ghoul, but unfortunately for him, though, he got a player down, so because that caused immediate turnover. So that being said, we go directly to top of turn number 8 for Shade. So with that, we go directly to turn 8 for Shade. Unfortunately for her, though, not much really happened. She did try to rush back this ghoul player. This character's name is Petsu of the Shadows. He moved back to his maximum allowance. I think she was trying to go for a blitzing act. She possibly could try to catch up with them. Unfortunately for her, though, she did try to throw a block with this zombie directly into this Rotter, so that way this white could be freed up to pull the blitz. But unfortunately for Shade, though, she rolled player down, so just like that, that pretty much ends her turn. So the turn over with, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 8 for Nurgle's Rotters. Alright, so we go to the very last turn of the first half, and Dark Lord Mac activates Magrar, which is basically, Remagor, his Pestigor, who makes it all the way to the end zone, and touchdown for Nurgle's Rotters. And just like that, both teams are now tied up in the first half of the game. We come back to the second half of the game where our friends re-rack their players, and then we go another turn. Alright, so that takes us directly to the second half of the game. So as you can see, both teams have piled in. Once again, Nurgle's Rotters will receive the ball for the second half, while the Champions of Death have basically kicked off the ball. Now when Shade rolled for the kickoff table, she rolled a Genius Defense roll, so because that, she repositioned up to 6 of her players. So you can see, she's got this huge line formation for her entire team, just stacked up along the line of scrimmage, trying to create an invisible screen so that way Nurgle's Rotters can't come in. Now the ball, of course, did land over the table. It bounced over to this direction right here in front of this Pestigor, and just like that, we go directly to the top of turn number 1 for Dark Lord Mac. So with that, we go directly to the top of turn number 1 for Dark Lord Mac, as well as Nurgle's Rotters. Unfortunate for him, though, he did suffer a catastrophic mistake. The first thing he did is he set in his bloater, Guto's Dispose. He threw a block directly to player number 13, which is a zombie named Wet was his name. And unfortunately, Whippawet, of course, got a both down results because that both of them got knocked down. However, Whippawet did suffer a knockout injury, so because of he is now put in the knockout box in the dugout. I think Dark Lord Mac is trying to create an opening over here so that way his Pestigors can slip through. But unfortunately, that pretty much ends the drive and also causes an immediate turnover. So from there, we then go to my little sister Shade. Unfortunately, she got a little too excited, forgot to move her turn marker, which is an illegal position, action. So because of that, she loses her turn on this one. So from there, we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for Dark Lord Mac. So from here, we go directly to the top of turn number 2, and as you can see, quite a bit of action took place on the table. So far, Dark Lord Mac has not made a move to go for the ball, and the reason why is because he's trying to create openings, it looks like, in the main line of scrimmage, so he kind of gave him a couple avenues of approach. So the first thing that ended up happening is right here in the center of the line of scrimmage. His bloaters pretty much pushed out some of the zombies as well as the mummies directly over here, so that way they have a nice little hole right here near the wide zone that they can actually slip through. At the same time, it looks like Dark Lord Mac is trying to do exactly the same thing up here by marking a couple of players. However, the key mistake happened over here with player number 4, Festus the Butcher, who was one of his bloaters. He got both players knocked down, result directly onto top of that. But at the same time, they'll also cause a casualty to this player here, which is player number 7. Player number 7, the zombie, which his name is Alf, basically suffered a knocked out result, so because he is also in the knockout box in the dugout as well. So just like that, Shade is now short 2 different players that she originally had in her team, at the same time opening up some avenues of approach. Now that does cause an immediate turnover for Dark Lord Mac, so because that, we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for Shade. So we go directly to the bottom of turn number 2 for Shade, and this is after her all of her movements. So for the most part over here, she did cause some tackles and blocks over here in the mental line of the line of scrimmage. Unfortunately, though, I think Shade kind of made a mistake. She did send in her mummy to tackle this bloater, but by doing that, she kind of created this avenue of approach and actually made it quite wider for Dark Lord Mac. But you know, that's like hindsight's 2020. However, the main occurrence though took place right over here, where she decided to take her white and actually throw a block directly into this player, so that way I think that way her goal can come through and steal the ball. But unfortunately, she got both players down as a result, so because of that caused immediate turnover. And from there, we go directly to the top of turn number 3 for Dark Lord Mac. Alright, so that takes directly to the top of turn number 3. So with that, we go directly over here at the line of scrimmage. As you see, for the most part, Dark Lord Mac concentrating most of his forces right over here to widening up this pocket right here in the middle of the line of scrimmage. So you can see here we got a perfect opening here. So because of that, Dark Lord Mac then sent his Pestigores. They went in and picked up the ball, and from there they're going to try to go through this gap here. At the same time, he also has a lot of these players marked, so that way they can't really intercept the Pestigores too badly. However, when this bloater did try to put a block directly onto the zombie, they rolled both down results because that both of them are on the ground, which caused immediate turnover for the Nurgle's Rotters. So that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 3 for Shade. So from there, we go directly to the top of turn number 3 for Shade and the Champions of Death. As you can see, once again, and turn kind of ended kind of slowly. First of all, this first mummy over here, mummy number 2, actually managed to push back this bloater, getting dangerously close to this Pestigore to knock the ball out of their position. At the same time, the second mummy, also player number 1, also moved over here in this position here to act as kind of like a defensive in order to stop these guys from actually going through. Meanwhile, over here on the top, though, this skeleton did try to throw a block directly into this rotter. They got both players down result, so because that caused immediate turnover for the game, and with that, we go directly to the top of turn number 4 for Nurgle's Rotters. Alright, so that takes directly to the top of turn number 4. As you can see, quite a bit of action took place here, especially in the bottom wide zone for Nurgle's Rotters. So first of all, Magor, which is one of the Pestigores, actually moved to his maximum allowance and actually rushed forward twice, so that way in the next turn he could actually go in through his drive and actually get a touchdown from there. From there, of course, we have the other Pestigore, Magarar, as well as the bloaters making kind of like a defensive ring around him to make sure he doesn't get blitzed by this mummy or by anybody else for that matter. And that pretty much makes up the entire turn. He did manage to block a couple more players for the most part, and then that pretty much ends turn number 4 for Nurgle's Rotters. Alright, so that takes us to the top of turn number 4 for Shade, as well as the Shambling Undead for the Champions of Death. And a couple of dramatic things ended up happening. First of all, she then activated her player, Huachi, I believe is the guy's name. He actually was able to move out of the way out of the tackle zone, actually traveled up to 9 squares, rushing twice in order to get directly towards the end zone in hopes of actually intercepting this Pestigore. However, it didn't really matter too much though, because this mummy player number 1, Aimap of the Sands, he basically does a blitz action, rolling a 6 for his agility test to actually escape the tackle zone. Moved up his squares directly into the Pestigore of Grimmar and managed to tackle that guy, and at the same time putting a power result on him, causing the ball to bounce over one space right over here is where it's located at. And just like that, the dreams of the Nurgle's Rotters to make it directly end zone next turn has been smashed. So with that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 5 for Nurgle's Rotters. So with that, we go directly to the top of turn number 5. As you can see in this photo here, the first thing that ended up happening is that Dark Lord Mac then had to stand up his player, Magor, which is one of his Pestigores. He actually got back on his feet again. However, the main action took place though when bloater number 6, Glutos, the disposal, trying to charge directly into AFAB of the Sands. Did manage to throw a blitz at him, but they got a both knocked down results because both of them completely knocked down, at the same time causing immediate turnover for Dark Lord Mac as well as Nurgle's Rotters. So with that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 5 for Shade as well as the Champions of Death. So moving on to turn number 5 for the Champions of Death. As you can see, quite a bit actually happened over here, especially in the white zone. First thing that ended up happening is that player number, I believe it's player number 4, Hutchai, that's his name, that's the golem over here, the ghoul over here. He actually moved up forward, actually got passes agility test to actually get through the tackles of this guy. Also passed agility test in order to pick up the ball. Unfortunately for my sister Shay, she did fail her pickup for the first time, so she spent a re-roll so that way she could actually secure the ball. And because that he moves up forward, he actually rushes 2 other squares as well, so that way he's near the 50-yard line, heading directly towards the end zone for the Nurgle's Rotters, so that way they can get another touchdown. Meanwhile, the most impressive play happened over here with player number 1, which is the Mummy's AFAB of the Sands. He actually gets back up, rolls a 6 for his initiative to move his agility to get out of the tackle zone of this player, and then rushes twice in order to put himself in the tackle zone position between these bloaters as well as his Pestigore, so that way they can't move forward. Finally, this this white over here also managed to do a push directly on this rudder to get him out of the way, so that way they have a nice line of a clear advantage to move directly towards the end zone. And that pretty sure makes up turn number 5 for Shade. So with that, we go directly to turn number 6 for Nurgle's Rotters, and some really interesting things happen. So first of all, the Pestigore, player number 1, Remagor, he actually does a blitz action, manages to successfully dodge the attack from player number 1, which is Ahab of the Sands, and manages to blitz directly into Huchai, which is the ghoul had possession of the ball. He actually got thrown directly into the crowd. He actually got a knocked out stun result, so he's laying on the ground right now. But the ball got thrown all the way up to this top position over here where the crowd threw it back in. Now this bloater, of course, moved up directly from the line of scrimmage. They're trying to move to grab the ball. Unfortunately for him, though, he mishandled the ball. It bounced over one square, causing immediate turnover for Nurgle's Rotters. So with that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 6 for the Champions of Death. So we go directly to turn number 6 for the Champions of Death. Unfortunately for Shade, though, she did try to actually have the zombie move out of tackle zone with this bloater, but unfortunately for her, though, she failed her agility test. She did burn up one of her rerolls in order to try to pass it again, but unfortunately she failed a second time, so that caused immediate turnover for the Champions of Death, which takes us directly to turn number 7 for Nurgle's Rotters. And so with that, it takes directly to the top of turn number 7 for Nurgle's Rotters, and just as you could probably imagine, this Rotter actually picked up the ball and actually ran it all the way to end zone, and touchdown for Dark Lord Mac and Nurgle's Rotters. Managed to score 2 touchdowns on the last second of last turn before the game ends. And at this point, then my little sister, she realized there's no way she's going to be able to pull off a victory on this one, so because of that, that takes us directly to the end of the game. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go directly to the post game because this game is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Now it's time for the post game. So let's go and talk about exactly what happened to each of the different teams, starting with the Champions of Death, which is the Shambling Undead team, coached by my little sister Shade. Unfortunately, they lost the game, but they did manage to score 1 touchdown. But sadly, because they lost, they also earned 0 league points for this campaign. At the same time, she also managed to score 3,000 gold pieces that she could use for her team. At the same time, she has no change in her dedicated fans, and for injuries, she actually suffered no injuries at this time. Now for advancements, 2 members of her team did advance. We have Afem of the Sands, her Mummy, which is player number 1. He got the MVP on this one and learned the multiple block skill, or increasing his value up to 10,000 credits. And same thing with Hutchai, which is the ghoul who managed to score a touchdown. He leveled to level 1 as well, learning the sidestep skill and increasing his gold value by 10,000 gold pieces as well. Now for endorsements as well as recruitment, Shay decided to recruit a new skeleton named Thatcha the Gifted for 40,000 gold pieces, using up all the money within her treasury and also increasing her team size now to 13 players. Her current record now is at 0 wins and 1 loss, and her new team value now is at 1,050 points. So moving on to my friend Dark Lord Mac with his team, Nurgle's Rotters. For the outcome on this one, he managed to win this game and at the same time earning 3 league points for himself as well, and he also managed to score 2 touchdowns in this game. For his winnings, he managed to score 40,000 gold pieces and increase his dedicated fans by 1, making his dedicated fans category up to 2 points. Now for injuries, Rotter number 12, which his name is Lionel, he suffers a serious injury, so because of that he has a niggling injury and he will also miss out his next game as well, so things are not looking really good for that player. Now for advancements, 3 members of this team did advance. We have Rai Mughal, which is one of his Pestigores, player number 1. He actually learned the strip ball skill. Same thing with Putrefex Dysplasia, which is one of his bloaters. That character is bloater player number 4. Bloater player number 3. He got the MVP on this one. He also learned the strip ball skill as well. And then finally we have Rian the Sickly, which was the Rotter that managed to score the 2nd touchdown for this team. He found the Tentacles mutation and also increased his score by another 10,000 credits as well. Now for adjustments, he doesn't actually use any adjustments or does any recruiting at this time. He puts all 45,000 gold pieces in his treasury. I think he's trying to save up for Rot Spawn. And then from there, his new record now is at 1 win and 0 losses. And his new team rating now is at 1,025 points. So that's going to do it for this week, guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this week, guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out. Stay classy.